First of all, your points that the world would be a worse place if God weren't around. Unfortunately, I don't see how you're pulling that. Basically, it's the standard argument of if God didn't exist, we'd all be going around raping and killing people, which puts a really bad spin on people. I prefer to think that people are naturally nice people regardless of whether they believe in God or not. Obviously, there are horrible people around, but they're also well spread between all sorts of faiths, atheists, Christians, Buddhists, all sorts of things. I'm not going to go and list all the possible religions. You said 99% of people who have ever lived believe in some form of God. That might be true over the period of recorded history. Even if it's only been believed in by one person, there's something on the order of 20,000 gods. I'm not going to go through and name them all, and I also can't tell you who made that list, but we can find that for you if you like. They cannot all be true, and as said, again, I'm trying to limit myself to the idea of the Christian God, but you said it yourself, just because so many people believe it doesn't make it so. You also brought up the point of justice, the Crusades. If God doesn't exist, they got away with it. That's not entirely the point. The Crusades were done by people who thought they were doing the right thing. So, in their minds at least, they were going to get away with it anyway. And Jesus said he would bring justice and end suffering to the world. Just because you'd like that to be the case doesn't mean that Jesus is going to come back and do those things. It would be nice to think that he would, but if that then stops us from trying to do that ourselves, then that makes the world a worse place. So I would say not only does your idea of God not make the world a better place, it's possibly actively stopping us from doing something about it ourselves. You can be a good citizen without God. I said that the first time around. Accountability has nothing to do with it. Accountability is not the point. Jesus said, hey, we should be nice to people. The golden rule, right, simply says, do unto others as you have them do unto you. And there's many ways of phrasing that, and that predates Jesus. I'm not sure by how long. But that requires nothing at all from God. It just needs you to think, well, if they were doing this to me, what would happen? Should I feel empathy towards this person? The other thing was, we have no hope for the future, and we go through life, we get up, we eat, we go to work or whatever, and then go to sleep again and count off the days till it's all over. That, again, is one of the most nihilistic statements I've come across. If you don't feel that way because you have your God, good for you. I personally love life. I think it's great. And sure, it might end one day, and I have to deal with that myself. The fact that I know it's going to end, and I don't think there's anything after it, doesn't mean I can't enjoy what I've got now. Thank you.
Thanks again, Ash. I now invite Jeff forward to present his slide.
Thanks, Hannah. I do want to start by tackling a couple of the issues that Ash raised in his first speech. So firstly, there's the question about is God necessary to explain why we're here? And quite rightly, I think he pointed out the fact that science has proven that the world is of a certain age, and the Bible appears to suggest that the world is not, and so therefore there's an inconsistency there that undermines the whole, particularly Christian project. I think the thing that I'd like to say about that is that whatever the Bible is trying to say about how the world is made, its interest is not in the order in which things happen or the amount of time that it takes, but simply that there is a maker, that there is someone who made it. Now, you might want to debate that and discuss that and disagree with it, and of course you're entitled to do so, but I think that one of the things that's not fair to do is to try and use the Bible to prove things that it itself wasn't interested in. His argument at the start is to say that there is a world, and we are part of it, and God has made it. Not that it happened in a certain amount of time, which actually is the reason why so many Christians, I think, disagree on exactly how it came about, because that's not what the Bible is trying to do. Ash also spent some time pointing out to us how if God is to be relevant, then he has to set a good example for us. And fair enough, pointed towards some of the passages, particularly from the Old Testament or the Jewish Bible, that speak of God's atrocities that he conducts. And, you know, I of all people, I'm not going to stand here and try and explain what God was doing or what he was thinking, because how could I? They are things that are hard to comprehend. What is clear consistently in the Bible is that when these things happen, it's never because the people who suffered in that way weren't, in a sense, responsible for what they had done. To pick the example of the Egyptians, they had spent their time making the Israelites into slaves, and this, in a sense, was God holding them to an account. I picked up on the idea of God holding people to account strongly in this because I think it's the one thing that all of us long to see. We like the idea of justice, particularly when it's for crimes that are committed against us. But I think the reason why we like it is because we want to know that there is a greater meaning to what we do. I'm very thankful, I'm very glad for someone like Ash that he does have a great life and that he enjoys it, and every day he gets up and looks forward to what he does, as do many of us here. And in the grand scheme of things, you and I are in the tiniest majority of people in this world. It's one thing for us to sit here in the hallowed halls of Adelaide University and talk about how good life is and how much we have lying before us when everything does lie before you. But for the majority of the people in this world who don't even know where their next meal is coming from, that's a luxury they cannot afford. And I think that any view of God that we have has to be able to explain not just our privileged existence, but those who have so much less. At the core of the argument, I think, for the affirmative that God is dead is that people are nice. Sorry, I don't mean can be nice, thank you. I don't mean to be patronising the use of nice, but that people are inherently good. And, well, I don't know. I don't know what you think about that, and I guess we all have to make that decision. There have been more people killed in war in the last century than there have in all the ones before that, and perhaps that's because there's more people on earth, so the denominator is larger. But to me that says that people aren't necessarily getting any better. When we read in the papers that 30,000 children die each day from extreme poverty, poverty that could be made history, then you have to wonder, are we actually getting better or not? Or are we inherently good as people? It strikes me that we would love to think that, and I hope that in this room that is the case, but there are far too many examples for us to naively think that, left to our own devices, we will bring about a better place on earth, that we will have peace on earth. Rightly, Ash pointed out there are so many gods, therefore they can't all be true, and that's not the way in which I was using the argument, by the way. I was just saying that it's a reminder that for most of us, inherently and innately, we have the sense, we have the longing that there is something more than what we just see. And the reason why, again, accountability is so important is because for all those things that have gone unrecognised and unpunished, we have a hope that the wrongs will be righted one day. And lastly, if we think that Jesus is going to come back one day and make everything all better again in the meantime, we'll just give up on it, that's clearly not the way in which Jesus envisages life to be lived. Consistently he says, love one another, love your neighbour as yourself. Be kind to the poor and needy and care for them. Because in so doing, you can't make the world into a perfect place, but you can show people that there is the chance that something might be better. Left to our own devices, we're unlikely to find it. But if there is a God, and if he does intervene in this world, then there is a hope that we might improve. Where I want to finish is with a story that Jesus tells about natural disasters, which is one of those things that you often find yourself wondering about and thinking, well, what does that do for me about the existence of God? Jesus talks about a disaster that's taken place at the time when he's living. A tower has collapsed unexpectedly and killed a whole number of innocent people. And they come to him and ask him, why did this happen? And his answer to that is, well, it happened to remind you that things aren't the way they should be. And when you look around at the world that's so broken and you long to be so much better, it's a reminder that, yes, that's how it should be. And so, when he makes his promise that he'll make it new and good again, it has real meaning and real context.